Welcome to day one of the Habit of Ferocity. And I thought to kick off the class, we were going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing over the next month, and more importantly, why we're going to be doing it. The goal of this class is to help you develop the habit of ferocity. So obviously the best place to start is, what the hell is this habit and why is it a good thing to develop? So if you spend any amount of time around the best of the best, the world's top performers, the people who have really taken on impossible challenges and accomplished them, what you tend to notice is that all these people seem to have an extra gear. When life gets challenging, when the road starts to head uphill, they seem to increase speed. Everybody else is dragging behind. These people are going faster and faster and faster. Most of us, when we face a challenge, we end up dithering around at the starting line, assessing the situation, trying to figure out where to start, what we're going to do, making vector diagrams of the way through. But the best of the best, they're already through that challenge and accelerating towards the next. And if you see it up close, it looks like a magic trick. It's actually not a magic trick. It's a byproduct of a lot of years of work. Whenever peak performers encounter life's difficulties, they instinctively lean in. In fact, they lean into the challenge even before they've realized they're leaning into the challenge. They've developed the habit of ferocity, the ability to automatically and instinctively rise to any challenge. Let me give you an example. So my best friend is a guy named Michael Wharton. He's been my editor, my business partner for about 25 years. When Michael was in high school, he ran track for a really unusual track coach. So when most runners encounter a hill, they tend to slow down. It's just what happens. It's automatic. The terrain gets more challenging. Your body wants to conserve energy. Your brain wants to conserve energy, so you slow down. The best of the best, really elite runners, they will try to maintain the same pace as they run that hill. But Michael's track coach taught them that when they were out running, whether they were doing long runs or intervals, whenever they encountered a hill, their goal was not to start sprinting or running faster, but their goal was to dial up their technique. So they'd encounter a hill, arms would get tight, their kicks would get really high, they would have high knees on the front end. And of course, it was a miserable experience to learn how to do this. But over time, independent of outcome, right? They weren't worried about, oh, am I going to sprint up the hill? Am I going to beat the other teammates? They just focused on form and high knees and tight arms and driving into the challenge. And the end result over time was they did learn how to sprint up hills. So while the best of the best, the elite runners in the world, are trying to maintain pace, they train themselves how to sprint uphill when the challenge got harder. Now, of course, in the beginning, when they first were learning to run this way, it was miserable. It sucked. It was terrible. They suffered for it for weeks and weeks and weeks. But then, at a certain point, it became automatic. They saw a hill, and automatically they just slipped into that tighter form, and the end result is they learned to accelerate up that hill. They developed what I would call a ferocious habit. The habit of ferocity is that same kind of approach, just applied to your entire life. How does the habit of ferocity work? One reason it works is because the best of the best don't rely on a single fuel source. What they've learned how to do is to take all of life's motivators, everything that motivates us, and perfectly stack and align those motivators. So what motivates us? Quite a lot, actually. You've got curiosity, passion, purpose, autonomy, mastery, goals, fear, pride. This list goes on. And the best of the best have learned how to harness all of them. They've learned how to align them into a tight stack. They never rely on a single fuel source. And to sustain peak performance, you need to learn how to use all of them. Over the course of this class, towards those ends, you're going to learn how to perfectly stack and align all possible motivators to maximize momentum. We're going to learn how to automatize grit and risk-taking so you can sustain that momentum. We're going to learn how to harness flow so you can turbo boost this entire process. And in the end, we're going to develop the habit of ferocity, the way to continuously attack your life and truly reach your goals. A few things I want to talk about before we get going. These are sort of rules of the road and words of caution. So the first thing is that this quest has been designed around 3 core principles. The first one is transformative measurability. We're not interested in completion rates. That's important. That's what everybody else tends to measure. We really care about learning. We want to make sure you come out at the other end of this quest a different person than you began it, which means we're going to measure you pre and post, and we're going to measure all the elements that we're training up in this quest, the front edge of this quest and the back end of this quest, so we can ensure that you're actually learning along the way. The second element this quest has been designed around is adaptable learning. So we've got a very specific content to frequency ratio. In other words, I'm not going to talk at you for more than 20 minutes a day. And over the course of a week, we're going to focus on a maximum of 3 to 5 concepts and ideas. So we're not going to overload you, but we're going to absolutely challenge you. We're not going to take up a ton of your time. We're going to take up enough of your time that we can actually ensure that you come out the back end of this quest a different person. The last thing that we're going to drill into is social accountability. You have been pre-qualified for this quest, meaning not everybody gets to take this quest and gets to go through this experience. So you are with a great cohort group. So utilize the Facebook group. Utilize the possibility of in-person meetups. That level of social accountability will really ensure that you get the most out of this class. Now, a few words of caution. This is the habit of ferocity. It is obviously about learning to really lean into life's challenges. In other words, it may not be for everyone. If you are going to instinctively learn to rise to life's challenges, it is going to be difficult. Suffering is guaranteed. This is not going to be easy. This is not necessarily going to be fun. This is not a quest that's about happy or sad. Not at all. If you are worried about emotional issues, if you want to do that kind of work, there's a lot of other trainings, there's a lot of other places to turn for that. This is going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging, and as I said, suffering is not optional. So if you're a kind of person who is looking for 3 things I can do Monday morning, this is not for you. This is about 3 things you can do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, repeat, week after week, month after month, year after year, for the course of a career, for the course of a lifetime. That's what we're doing here. And that's going to require the habit of ferocity. So welcome to your first assignment. I want you to write down the 3 reasons you're here. The idea is to kind of align your core values with the outcomes of this quest. So you've heard a little bit about the habit of ferocity. You know what we're doing here. Write down the 3 things that are inside of you that are core to who you are, that this quest most aligns with. Think about who you want to become on the other side of this and write that down. That's the place we're going to start. I'll talk to you tomorrow.